Hello and welcome to the Armourer with me, Blue, and today we're going to talk about the news of last week. So, basically, there are a few new spoilers that I want to talk about because they're kind of spicy, and the rest of the news is basically a lot of Blitz heroes have reached Living Legend status finally. I believe the heroes are Ira, Kasai, and Kano. Finally joined Chain in the Living Legend of Blitz. There was some outrage in like the Blitz community or like just Flesh and Blood as a whole about heroes once again reaching Living Legend status way too quickly or something like this. I don't think that's a problem. I mean, if it really was too quickly, I would think it's a problem, but all of these heroes have been viable and literally the top of the meta in Blitz for like 3 years or something. Basically since its inception, especially things like Kano and Kasai. So I'd say it was about time for Blitz to become a little bit more fresh, and hopefully the new heroes from Heavy Hitters will freshen it up even more. And yeah, let's just move to the spoilers. First we have Judge, Jury, Executioner, a legendary Azalea specialization that says if this has an aim counter, it gets when this hits a hero they discard all but one card from their hand. So this is, in terms of an on-hit effect, it's a little better than Red in the Ledger. It's a little better, just a tiny bit better. Simply because with one card you're only going to perform one action like the majority of the time, and Red in the Ledger saying you have only one action allows you to like play big actions. So it's kind of like against white decks, I mean not white but decks like Bravo that are going to be throwing one very big attack, and probably like any Guardian we ever see. Red in the Ledger is not amazing, but Judge, Jury, Executioner is pretty nice. And on the other hand, Judge, Jury, Executioner against something like Dromai is going to be very useless, because basically they only need one card in hand, right? They'll just play a Sigil of Solace as their last card in hand and then attack you with all the dragons. So it made no difference anyway. So I'd say it's a very cool inclusion. I like the art, I like the effect. The only thing I do not like is that it needs to have an aim counter. So that basically means that this attack is only going to have an effect if you pull it from the top of your deck. So you won't really be able to abuse it with things like Codex of Frailty. And usually I'd say, like, if this was not legendary, maybe I would have said it's not that great. But as a one-off in the deck anyway, people will probably play it, simply because in the decks where this and Red in the Ledger are effectively the same card, it's going to be better to just have like a 4th Red in the Ledger in your deck, in terms of just dominating and using your tutor specialization on Judge, Jury, Executioner as well. Not much else to say, I think, about that card. Then we have a much spicier card being real in. It's a blue instant that says cost is X, and says look at the top X cards of your deck, where X plus 1 cards. Choose up to 4 traps, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle, and it has reload. Now, having reload is amazing. Especially for something like Riptide. Riptide is the one that really wants to be playing traps. I don't think that Azalea is going to play like more than 3 traps in the entire deck anyway, so Reruin is not going to do anything for her. So like best case scenario, obviously you have Reruin in your arsenal, and you play Reruin from your arsenal, pitching another blue, looking at the top 4 cards of your deck, you find 4 traps in there, you reload one of the traps, you play it, you use Riptide's ability to put another trap in the arsenal, you play it from there as well, and then you can still like play a trap from hand if you're like attacked with a dominating, or you just play all 4 traps, deal like 4 damage, bunch of other effects if you can trigger them. So that's the dream. Unfortunately, it's a very hard dream to achieve, in my opinion. Trap-centric Riptide decks in CC have not been a thing like at all. They have seen some success in like Blitz, but it's like an entirely different format there. And in order to kind of semi-consistently use Reruin, I feel like you need to have at least half of your deck be traps, and I don't think Riptide has that many traps. And even if you had that many traps, in terms of like even semi-playable traps, you would still need to pitch a blue for Reruin in order to look at the top 4 and find at least 2, so you're kind of like, you use 2 cards, you found 2 cards, and you get the reload effect. But I don't know, like even then, what blues are you playing in Riptide? Right, like this is probably my biggest problem with Reruin. I mean, Reruin has a lot of problems, but one of the problems is, in order for it to be like properly efficient, in order to even be able to reach the high of get 4 traps, you need to pitch a blue, and Riptide is not really a deck that is playing a lot of blues, right? Like, because your cost curve attacking usually is 0, right? Like you play a buff for 0, activate your ability, arsenal on attack, play the attack, and the attack is also going to be like a 0. Or if it's 1 cost anywhere, you just use your ball to like pitch a red or a yellow, load, draw a card, shoot, arsenal, something like this, right? You don't really play a lot of blues, and the blues you play, you really want to attack with them, you know, you really want to play them, you don't really want to be pitching them, right? You're going to be playing the legendary traps, which you only have 1 of, you're going to play Intoxicating Shot, which you want to attack with, because it kind of triggers your harder to trigger traps. So yeah, I'm not a big believer in Reruin, in terms of CC at least, but in Blitz, in those heavy trap Riptide decks that are only playing Nourishing Emptiness as their only attack, Reruin can actually maybe be good, but I'm not a Blitz player, so I have no idea how good that deck or that format is. And then we have 2 new Illusionist cards. One is Dissolve Reality, very pretty art, blocks 3, is yellow, costs 0 and says each hero puts all cards in their arsenal on the bottom of their deck and creates a Ponder token. So this would have been great, I feel, against Lexi, which was practically the only hero that will consistently have 2 cards in their arsenal. At 1 card in their arsenal, I don't think this card does too much, because it also gives them a Ponder token, so it kind of like, you play a card in order to remove a card from your opponent's arsenal for a single turn. You know, this card is very, very similar to Lost in Thought, right? Because both of them remove a resource from your opponent and give them a popper for it. But like Lost in Thought allows you to remove 1 out of 4 cards instead of just removing their arsenal. And it like also doubles up as like popper removal. Looking at 4 cards is going to allow you to stop their combo actually, if they have any, because you have like a much... you have much more cards to choose from. And Dissolve Reality does none of that. The cool thing is that it has each hero, so like in UPF this can be great. To kind of like slow down everyone and kind of be like a cool AoE effect, I guess. In terms of CC, I feel like this may just be a extremely specific sideboard piece against decks that maybe rely on their arsenal way too much, right? Like maybe if you're really struggling into Kano and you're like, I hope he doesn't have this wildfire in the arsenal right now, you can kind of remove the wildfire and hopefully slow them by a turn. Or something like Saber's Bolton, where you know he has a Lumina in arsenal and he's just waiting for the second one. You can also do that. But I'm not sure those matchups are going to be a problem, and I don't think that this is going to be good enough even in those matchups. So I'm not very high on this card at all. And finally, the most exciting card that we have seen that has been spoiled by Fino, that he teased it a whole lot, is basically a new Luminaris. And this kind of shows, in my opinion, how good the inclusion of the expansion slot is, where we basically have a support set with every set, right? Instead of like every other set or every 2 sets. So we can simply have things like this included in the middle of a set whenever they're needed. And this was definitely needed. So basically the new Luminaris says if there's a yellow card in your pitch zone, the first attack action card with Herald in its name you play each turn, and your first angel attack each turn get go again. So basically if we pitch a yellow, this turn our first Herald and our first angel are both going to have go again. So this is going to do a lot of things for the Luminaris matchups of the new Prism. I still think that new Prism is going to have to play a Iris game plan with like a lot of auras against things that have a high against decks that have high popper amounts like Brutes, Bravos and so on, like Guardian as a whole. And also seeing that the new set is probably going to introduce a solid amount of warrior attack actions that are going to be crossovers with like Guardians and Brutes. Even warriors are going to have some amount of 6 power cards that they can slot in, and mechanologists have a lot more good 6 power attacks that they can play. But yeah, the new Luminaris is like compared to the previous one, is going to make your 0 cost blue hours a lot more playable, because you can now just pitch a yellow, attack with one of your heralds, and then just use that go again in order to then be able to just drop an aura. Which is very nice, you know, like, because before you'd need to use 4 resources in order to do that, which you can't do with simply like 3 cards basically, when you need to have like aura, pitch and herald. You can do the same with an angel. And the other thing that this is going to allow you to do is actually utilize your 5 card hands. Because previous Prism, I feel like, kind of struggled with utilizing a very large hand, unless you had like bunch of auras and iris. Like at that point you can just start pitching the entirety of your hands in order to attack with your auras, but outside of that, you didn't really have it. And now with the new Luminaris, you'll be able to attack with the Herald. If it hits, bring a Figment, flip the Figment, attack with the Angel, have go again yet, attack with another Herald, bring another Figment if it hits, and just get like incredibly far on board if you have the options you use a 5-card hand. I'm pretty excited about what new Luminaris is going to do for Prism. And I'll definitely be making a second video on Prism whenever we actually figure out a new build or something like this. And I'll also be looking to drop a video on Kasai and like cool cards that we can play in Kasai right now, even before like looking the new cards from the new set. So yeah, that's about it. Bye bye, see you next time.